What if the secrets of an ancient people could be unlocked through science? For thousands of years, the Jewish people have been scattered across continents, carrying with them rich traditions, stories of survival, and an unshakable identity. But beyond the rituals and histories lies another story, a hidden story, etched into their DNA. Imagine this: every twist and turn in history, from ancient Jerusalem to the bustling streets of medieval Europe, has left traces deep within their genetic makeup. Could these microscopic markers hold the key to their shared origins? And what might they reveal about the challenges and triumphs of a community that has endured against all odds? Today, we're going on a journey through time and science, peeling back layers of history to uncover the hidden story of Jewish genetics. You'll discover how groundbreaking DNA studies have reshaped our understanding of Jewish ancestry, revealed unexpected connections, and even stirred debate about what it truly means to belong. Stay tuned, because what we're about to uncover will change the way you see history, and perhaps even identity itself. Throughout history, the Jewish people have been defined by more than just faith. They are a global community, spread far and wide, from the Middle East to Europe, Africa, and beyond. Yet, despite being shaped by so many diverse regions and cultures, they have always maintained a profound sense of shared identity. But here's the intriguing part: their connection isn't just cultural or religious. It's deeply rooted in something even more fundamental: their genetics. Modern science has opened a window into this hidden world, revealing how DNA tells the story of migration, adaptation, and resilience. Why does this matter? Because it offers insights into one of humanity's oldest diasporas. It explains why Jewish communities, from Ashkenazi Jews in Europe to Sephardic Jews in North Africa and Mizrahi Jews in the Middle East, share common threads despite being separated by vast distances and centuries of history. But the significance goes beyond history. Understanding Jewish genetics isn't just about uncovering the past, it's also about improving the future. From identifying genetic predispositions to certain diseases like Tay-Sachs or Biasia-related cancers to developing personalized medical treatments, these discoveries are saving lives today. At the same time, this research has stirred profound questions. Who belongs to the Jewish people? Can ancestry be defined by DNA alone? And how do we balance the marvels of genetic science with the complexity of cultural identity? In this video, we'll dive into the science, the controversies, and the extraordinary revelations of Jewish genetics. Because understanding their DNA doesn't just tell us about their past, it connects all of us to the shared story of humanity. To understand the story of Jewish genetics, we need to go back thousands of years. It begins in the ancient Near East, where the Jewish people first emerged as a distinct group. Archaeological and historical records point to their early roots in the land of Israel, a region at the crossroads of ancient civilizations. But their story didn't remain confined to one place for long. The Jewish people experienced waves of exile and migration, events that shaped their identity and genetic makeup. The Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE, the Roman conquest of Judea, and the dispersal after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE are just a few of the pivotal moments that scattered Jewish communities across the globe. As they settled in new lands, Jewish groups often lived in close-knit communities, which helped preserve their traditions and their genetic heritage. Yet, they also interacted with their host populations, leading to varying levels of genetic mixing. Take Ashkenazi Jews, for instance. This community, primarily based in Central and Eastern Europe, traces its ancestry to a small group of Jewish founders who migrated from the Middle East. Genetic studies reveal that while a significant portion of their DNA is of Near Eastern origin, about 30 to 60% reflects admixture with European populations over the centuries. Sephardic Jews, on the other hand, have a slightly different story. Originating from the Iberian Peninsula, they share a core Middle Eastern genetic signature but also show influences from Mediterranean populations due to their history in Spain, Portugal, and later North Africa. And then there are the Mizrahi Jews, who remained in the Middle East and North Africa, preserving some of the most ancient genetic links to their shared origins. What's fascinating is how DNA also tells the story of smaller, more isolated Jewish communities. Ethiopian Jews, for instance, known as Beta Israel, have genetic signatures reflecting both their ties to ancient Jewish ancestry and admixture with local populations. Similarly, the Bene Israel of India show traces of Middle Eastern paternal ancestry mixed with South Asian maternal influences. Despite these differences, a remarkable pattern emerges. Across all Jewish groups, a shared genetic thread consistently ties them back to their origins in the Near East. Even after thousands of years of separation and migration, these connections remain undeniable. What's even more fascinating is that these genetic patterns align with historical and cultural records. Together, they weave a cohesive narrative of a people who endured displacement, adapted to new environments, and yet maintained an enduring bond with their origins. But this is just the beginning. The story of Jewish genetics isn't just about where they came from. It's also about the profound implications for health, identity, and the ongoing discoveries that continue to reshape our understanding of the past. When we look at Jewish genetics, we're diving into one of the most detailed and studied fields in population genetics. But what exactly does the science reveal? And how does it all work? Genetic studies rely on analyzing patterns in DNA. Specifically, how variations in genetic markers differ between populations. For Jewish communities, researchers have used genome-wide scans, mitochondrial DNA, passed through mothers, and Y-chromosomal DNA, passed through fathers, to uncover their ancestry. One of the most remarkable findings is how Jewish populations consistently form a distinct genetic cluster. For example, Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and Mizrahi Jews, despite being separated by geography and history, share a significant portion of their DNA with each other. This shared ancestry stems from their common origins in the Near East. Principal component analyses, which map genetic similarities and differences, show that Jewish groups cluster closer to Middle Eastern populations like Druze and Bedouins than to their non-Jewish neighbors in Europe or Africa. Yet, within that cluster, each Jewish community also has its own genetic signature, shaped by local histories and migrations. A powerful example of this is the Ashkenazi Jewish population. Studies have shown that Ashkenazi Jews have gone through what scientists call a founder event. This means that today's Ashkenazi Jews trace back to a very small group of ancestors, which explains their genetic homogeneity. This bottleneck effect is also why certain genetic diseases, like Tay-Sachs and BRCA1 mutations, are more common among Ashkenazi Jews. The same methods have been used to study smaller Jewish communities, like Ethiopian Jews or the Bene Israel of India. These studies reveal a mix of Middle Eastern ancestry with significant contributions from local populations, reflecting centuries of adaptation and interaction. Another groundbreaking study analyzed DNA from a medieval Jewish cemetery in Erfurt, Germany. The results showed two distinct subgroups within the Ashkenazi community at the time, one with higher Middle Eastern ancestry and another with greater European admixture. This aligns with historical records of Jewish migration and settlement patterns across Europe. What's fascinating is that science can now identify Jewish ancestry with remarkable precision, even distinguishing individuals with one or two Jewish grandparents. This doesn't just reinforce the idea of shared ancestry but also highlights how genetics can trace complex histories over millennia. But it's not just about ancestry. Jewish genetics also shed light on the health implications of this shared heritage. From the discovery of specific genetic markers to advancements in personalized medicine, the study of Jewish DNA has revolutionized fields like medical genetics. Science, however, doesn't operate in a vacuum. While these findings are profound, they are also part of broader questions about identity and heritage. What defines a Jew? Genetics, religion, or culture? The answer, like the science itself, is both intricate and deeply personal. Through genetic research, we see not just the biological journey of the Jewish people but also a testament to their resilience, adaptation, and enduring connection to their origins. And as technology advances, we're only just beginning to unlock the full story written in their DNA. As we unravel the genetic story of Jewish ancestry, we can't ignore the significant role the diaspora played in shaping these communities. For over 2,000 years, Jewish populations have migrated, settled, and adapted to different corners of the globe, all while retaining a genetic thread that ties them to their Middle Eastern origins. The Jewish diaspora began with the Babylonian exile in the 6th century BCE and expanded further after the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE. By this time, Jewish communities had spread throughout the Roman Empire, from the Mediterranean to Mesopotamia. Historical records show flourishing Jewish populations in places like Alexandria in Egypt and Ansh in modern-day Turkey. But how does this history align with the genetic data? Studies consistently show that Jews from Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East share a core ancestry rooted in the Levant. This shared genetic signature speaks to a common origin and early dispersal, but it also highlights the local influences that shaped each community. Take Ashkenazi Jews, for example. Genetic research reveals that they carry approximately 30 to 60% European ancestry, likely a result of intermarriage and conversions during their migration through Europe. Yet, they still retain strong ties to their Middle Eastern roots, clustering genetically with other Jewish populations and non-Jewish Middle Eastern groups like Druze and Cypriots. Sephardic Jews, who settled in Spain and Portugal before their expulsion in 1492, show a different genetic profile. They exhibit significant Mediterranean ancestry while maintaining their Levantine connection. When Sephardic Jews were forced to migrate, many joined existing Jewish communities in North Africa, Italy, and the Ottoman Empire, further blending their genetic makeup. Meanwhile, Mizrahi Jews, or Eastern Jews, remain closer to the Jewish heartland. Populations in Iraq, Iran, and Yemen show fewer signs of admixture with surrounding communities, reflecting their isolation and long-term settlement in the Middle East. Then there are smaller, more isolated groups like Ethiopian Jews and the Bene Israel of India. These communities tell a unique story of migration and adaptation. For example, genetic studies suggest that Ethiopian Jews likely originated from Jewish traders who settled in East Africa and mixed with local populations. Similarly, the Bene Israel show evidence of paternal links to the Levant but maternal ancestry tied to South Asia, hinting at conversion and integration over centuries. One of the most intriguing cases is the Lemba people of southern Africa, who claim Jewish ancestry. Genetic studies confirm that a significant portion of their male lineages, including the so-called Cohen modal haplotype, are consistent with Jewish origins. This suggests a historical connection through trade or migration, followed by integration into local African populations. The diaspora's genetic legacy isn't just about where Jews went, it's about how they adapted. Forced migrations, expulsions, and interactions with host populations left distinct genetic footprints. Yet, across continents and centuries, a shared thread ties these communities back to their Middle Eastern ancestors. It's a story of resilience and continuity, written in the DNA of millions. Despite the challenges of exile and dispersion, Jewish populations retained their identity and passed it on, not just through culture and tradition, but through the very building blocks of life itself. As we study these genetic patterns, we're not just uncovering the movements of ancient populations, we're also seeing how history, culture, and biology intersect to tell the story of a people whose roots, though spread across the globe, remain firmly planted in their ancestral homeland. Genetics doesn't just tell us where we come from, it can also reveal insights into our health. For Jewish populations, particularly Ashkenazi Jews, genetics has become an invaluable tool in understanding hereditary diseases, guiding medical research, and improving healthcare outcomes. Ashkenazi Jews are known for having a higher prevalence of certain genetic conditions. These include Tay-Sachs disease, Gaucher disease, and BRCA1 and BRCA2 mutations, which are linked to an increased risk of breast and ovarian cancers. Why are these conditions more common? It's primarily due to a founder effect. When a small population expands rapidly, as was the case with Ashkenazi Jews during the medieval period, specific genetic mutations present in the founders can become more frequent in the population. For instance, the BRCA1 mutation, which significantly raises the risk of breast cancer, is found in about 1 in 40 Ashkenazi Jews, compared to roughly 1 in 500 in the general population. Understanding this genetic predisposition has led to life-saving measures, including early screening and preventative care. Tay-Sachs disease is another well-known example. This fatal condition, which affects the nervous system, was once a devastatingly common diagnosis. But through carrier screening programs introduced in the 1970s, the number of affected births has dropped dramatically. Today, Ashkenazi Jews are routinely screened for over 20 genetic conditions before marriage or pregnancy. What about other Jewish communities? While much of the focus has been on Ashkenazi Jews, other groups also carry unique genetic signatures. For example, Sephardic Jews and Mizrahi Jews have their own set of hereditary conditions, including familial Mediterranean fever and certain metabolic disorders. Advances in genetic testing are now making it possible to identify and address these conditions as well. But the impact of Jewish genetics goes beyond specific populations. The unique genetic makeup of Jewish communities has provided valuable insights into human biology as a whole. Because of their relative genetic homogeneity, researchers can more easily identify disease-related genes. This has led to breakthroughs in understanding not just Jewish genetic diseases, but conditions that affect the global population, like Crohn's disease and Parkinson's disease. Yet, this knowledge comes with ethical considerations. As we map Jewish genetics more precisely, we must navigate the challenges of privacy and stigmatization. How do we ensure that this information is used to improve health outcomes without reinforcing harmful stereotypes? How do we balance the benefits of genetic research with the risks of genetic determinism? These questions highlight the complexity of using genetics in medicine, especially when it comes to a population as diverse and historically significant as the Jewish people. Still, the potential for positive impact is undeniable. From reducing the prevalence of genetic disorders to advancing precision medicine, Jewish genetics is transforming the way we think about health and heredity. In many ways, the medical implications of Jewish genetics are a testament to resilience and progress. What was once a source of vulnerability, genetic diseases, is now a foundation for innovation and hope. By understanding our genetic past, we're not just solving the mysteries of ancestry. We're building a future where knowledge saves lives. As this journey through Jewish genetics comes to a close, it's clear that this is more than a scientific story. It's a story of identity, history, and humanity. A reminder of how our past shapes our present and how understanding our DNA can guide us toward a healthier tomorrow.